Hey guys, it is Mark for the Gun Guy channel, and today we're talking about a gun that I call the Lou Gehrig revolver. Why? Because it is every man's revolver. It is an iron horse. It is the Taurus M66. We're going to take a look at this gun right after this, because this gun considers itself the greatest gun in this room. Hey, it's Mark again, and recently a buddy of mine started to look for his first revolver. Now, this was going to be his first gun purchase, and it had to check a whole lot of boxes. It was principally for home defense, and he opted for simplicity of a revolver over a semi-automatic, but wanted good stopping power, manageable recoil, decent action, and a gun that wouldn't cost more than a car payment. And instantly, the Taurus Model 66, or M66 as it is also known, sprang to mind. And the reason is, a couple of years ago, I was looking for a revolver that checked all those boxes too, something that I could keep at the office, and it had all the same criteria, and I ended up settling on the Model 66. And what we're going to do in this video is talk a little bit about that specific model, go over the specs of the gun and see what you get in the box, take it out to the range, see how it shoots, and I'll give you some final thoughts about this gun. But before we dive into that, if you like our videos, if you've been enjoying them, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment. It's a totally free way to support the channel, and it helps us keep bringing you content. Also let you know when we're going to put new content out. And as always, I've added chapter markers to the video, so if we're talking about something that does not interest you at all, you can just skip over it and get to the stuff that does. But for right now, let's talk Taurus. The Taurus Model 66 is a workhorse of a revolver that basically balances affordability, versatility, and firepower. It's chambered in .357 Magnum and .38 Special, which also fires .38 Special+P. And it sits squarely in the medium frame category, offering 7 rounds of capacity where most traditional wheel guns give you 6. With the barrel length of 4 or 6 inches and finishes in either matte stainless steel or matte black oxide, it's built to cover home defense, range work, trail duty, all while not breaking the bank of the average shooter. Now, the Taurus 66 roots reach back to the 1970s, and in 1970, Bangor Punta, then parent of Smith Wesson, purchased controlling interest in Taurus. And for nearly a decade, the company shared engineering resources. As a result, early Taurus revolvers looked very much like Smith Wesson's, with side plate yokes and overall design language that mirrored the American classic. Introduced in 1978, the Taurus 66 was essentially the Brazilian counterpart to Smith & Wesson's Model 19/66 Combat. In 1999, Taurus pushed the design forward with a 7-shot cylinder, following Smith & Wesson's lead with the 686 Plus, which was introduced in 1996. Now, a lot of people go, why is there an overlap in looks and design? Is it just because Taurus is knocking off Smith? No, it's because they had well, could be, but principally it's probably because they have a shared DNA, and that really does explain some of the cosmetic similarities, but the internals are actually distinct. So, for example, Taurus uses a coil mainspring, transfer bar safety, and a hammer-based internal lock, while Smith uses a flat leaf mainspring, hammer block safety, and a frame-mounted lock in modern versions that everyone seems to hate. Now, at a glance, the Taurus Model 66 may look like a Smith, but the trigger feel and the mechanical design choices are going to let you know that you're not shooting a Smith & Wesson. Now, lots of people think that this gun looks like a 686. For me, it's really more of a hybrid of a Model 65-5, which is one of the later model frames of the Model 65, in that it has a fixed front sight, and a Model 66 or Model 686 with the adjustable rear sights. Now, I personally like the ability to swap out my front sights, which you can't do on the Taurus that we're looking at. Now, this is the 4-inch stainless steel model. However, the models available as of August 2025, according to Taurus's official catalog, listed on their official website, are the matte black oxide 4-inch barrel, the stainless 4-inch, which is what we're looking at, the matte black oxide 6-inch, and the matte stainless 6-inch. Each variant features the same 7-shot cylinder, fixed front sights, adjustable rear sights, rubber grips, and the Taurus security system, also known as the Brazilian Hillary hole.
Whoa there, girl!
Let's take a look at what you get in the box. Let's see what you get in the beautiful Taurus box. So, you get a handbook that lets you know you bought a revolver and not a semi-automatic weapon. It comes in a bag. You get some other literature, and you get the keys for the Taurus security system, which we'll get to. You also get this gun. We'll clear it real quick. And a nice touch, which I honestly had forgotten about, was you get this cover for your rear sight to prevent it from bumping and moving. So that was really nice. I honestly don't remember getting something like this in many of the other revolvers that I've purchased. Anyhow, very simple and straightforward in the box, not too terribly much. We're going to keep these so I can show you how that frame locking system will work that you will never use. And other than that, we're going to make this go away in 1, 2, 3, poof. All right, so let's take a quick look at the specifications of this gun. Now, this particular model is the 4-inch stainless Taurus 66, and it honestly remains one of the most popular choices and best sellers in this line. Now, let's start out with the fact that I am not the biggest fan of this particular finish. It's called a matte stainless steel. I just don't like it. I don't hate it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it because I like shiny things.
Shiny.
Anyhow, the gun is chambered in 357 Magnum, which also means you can shoot 38s with it, and it is a 7-shot revolver. The barrel on this is 4 inches. Now, the overall length, according to the Taurus site, is 10.5 inches. However, this is not 10.5 inches. So I don't know if they switched models, but this is much closer to 9.5 inches. So we're going to call the overall length 9.5 inches. The height is indeed 5.99 inches, and we'll just call that 6. And the width on this specific gun is about 1.6 inches. Unloaded, this gun weighs, according to the manual, 38 ounces. Let's see if they told us the truth or not. So it is 38.13 ounces. So yeah, pretty much right on track as far as the weight goes. Again, the finish on this gun is stainless, but it's also available in the black oxide. We can move on to the grips, which it comes with, which are rubber factory and they're stock. MSRP on the black oxide is $713.99, and on the stainless it is $731.99. But the reality is this has a street price of somewhere between $400 to $450, and honestly, occasionally, if you find the gun on sale, it will even be below $400. Let's take a look at some of the specific features on this gun. And let's start with the front sight. So it has a fixed front sight and a fully adjustable rear sight, which basically means you can operate elevation and or windage with the screws here and here. I have great difficulty with a fixed front sight just because of my eyes. So for me at least, this really is one of the the big drawbacks on this. I'm going to paint this sight, see if it helps. And also, and this really doesn't work in a self-defense situation, but it depends what I'm pointing this gun at. So if I'm pointing it at a very light target, it's harder for me to see. If I point it at a darker target, the matte finish, which is another reason I don't particularly like this finish, is easier for me to see with the black target sights on this specific gun. Moving on to the hammer. The hammer, it's wide and it has some very nice checkering, and it allows really for good manipulation of the hammer if you want single action. Just as a side note, this specific gun rotates counterclockwise, so it rotates the same way that a Smith would. Now for the part that no one's going to be particularly fond of, this is the Taurus security system. And honestly, it's just a frame lock, and you don't have to use it ever. If you want to use it, you can. It comes with 2 keys, and you simply turn it. And now the gun is all locked up and will not function. So it's a very safe way to store the gun if you decide. You would simply turn it clockwise to get it back into the operational mode. Turn it fully counterclockwise and it clicks, and voila. That being said, I know people don't like this. You don't have to use it if you don't like it. So it doesn't make the gun itself bad. The cylinder release on this gun also works very much like you would expect on a Smith & Wesson, and that's pushing it forward, and it comes out relatively easily. It has a fully shrouded ejector rod and a full underlug barrel. The underlug extends almost the entire length of the barrel, and that's really to add some weight to the front of the gun, and it's how you balance the gun. And it's also to tame muzzle flip. Now, this part of the gun, the underlug, really is what kind of reminds me of the old Model 65 or even the Model 66 Combat, because it has that little indentation there, as opposed to the 686 Plus, which really comes flush with the crown of the barrel. Again, the gun, at least the 4 models that they currently offer, come with these rubber grips. And they're nice grips. They're not the best grips. The texturing is actually really good. It gives you a nice grip. I believe older models and certain special models do come with wooden grips, but these are the factory ones that are now being offered, and very, very comfortable. Not necessary to have rubber grips per se if you're going to shoot a lot of 38s. Your hand will thank you, though, if you are shooting 38+P or 357 Magnums. In regard to the trigger, the width on the trigger, which I don't know if a lot of people talk about, is really nice. It lets you get a significant amount of your finger in contact with it. It's not too small, not too big. Goldilocks would love this gun. The double action is really pretty smooth. If you like shooting where you stage it, you can also do that, and it's noticeable where it's going to stage, right? It almost pops there. The single action is very crisp. There's practically no take up whatsoever, and you would expect that. So it really does shoot nicely. Now, one of the things that you should be a little bit cognizant of with this specific gun is that you don't want to short stroke the gun. And what I mean by that is, if you do not allow the trigger to fully come forward, you just spin the cylinder without activating the double action. So that is something you want to be cognizant of, because that's bad. Because at that point, not only are you not shooting, but you're spinning the cylinder with loaded and unloaded. It can be very confusing. The way to avoid that, it's kind of the opposite of a semi-automatic. A semi, you want a very short reset so that you can get quick sights or quick shots again. With the revolver, let it go forward and you won't have that issue. But know that with this specific gun, that is a potential problem. So you just want to make sure that when you're operating the trigger, you're cognizant of that and you're doing it right. In regard to the trigger weights itself, let's see what the trigger pull is on the double action first. £8, 15 ounces. That seems a little light. Try it again. £9, 7.9. £9, 0.7 ounces. So the double action is really not horrible, and again, pretty smooth. There's not a lot of grind. It's a nice double action trigger. In regard to single action, £4, 5.9 ounces. £4, 7.4 ounces. £4, 12.4 ounces. So again, not a terribly heavy single action, and really just pretty nice all in all. Anyhow, now that we have seen what the trigger poundage is, let's see how I can abuse that at the range with this footage. I was shooting this gun a little bit low, but I don't think that really had anything to do with the build of the gun and everything to do with my eyes. Now, this specific gun, at least for me, if I'm shooting at a light target, I have a great deal of difficulty seeing the sight and getting a good sight picture. So what I'm going to do is actually paint the front sight of this gun a much brighter red, far more akin to what you'd see on a Smith & Wesson, and we're going to do a follow-up and see if that actually helps me get my groups a little bit tighter. In regard to how it shot though, it handled 38 specials all day long with very little recoil, and super comfortable to shoot those. Does it handle the 357s the same? No, but no gun really does, right? It was not bad at all. The gun is actually pretty well balanced, and it did suck up a lot of the recoil, but you're going to feel it more than a 38 special. In regard to the trigger performed really well, double action and single action. And I really like that the trigger is wide enough to give your finger some good contact with it, but it's not too wide to make it difficult to shoot in single or double. I'd honestly place this gun at the very top of the really good entry-level revolver category. I think it's great for home defense, for duty purposes, for range practice, for trail carry, although honestly I prefer a 44 Magnum or 10 millimeter if I'm going to use a trail carry, particularly if I'm out west where they have some very big, very nasty critters. Not talking specifically about Gavin Newsom, but yeah, him too. Is it as good as a Smith or a Colt? No, not really. Okay, it's probably not even as good as a Ruger, but it's priced accordingly. And for where it's priced, it's a really good gun. So for someone who's just getting into shooting or who just doesn't want to spend $1,000 on a revolver, it is a great choice. Now, let me know your thoughts about this. Do you like it better than a Smith or a Colt? For example, I have a Taurus 856 and I love that gun. I would carry and shoot that before I would carry a Smith Airweight or a lot of the J-frames, honestly. So let me know what you think. Where do you place this gun? Have you shot it? Would you shoot it? Would you buy it? Would you hate it? If you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you next time on Da Gun Guy.